Deja, and as a supervising animator for Disney Animation Studios, I have created classic villains such as Gaston, Jafar, and Scar, the Lion. Well, my business story begins in Germany, where it really started when I saw the Jungle Book for the first time. I was about 11 years old, changed my life. And I wanted to do that. Create a police when I did Gaston. So that was my first villain, and it was Ron and John again, who I worked with on the Mermaid. They were doing Aladdin, so I ended up doing Jafar. And by the time it got to Lion King, which was the next project, I said, I know it's not a big turn, this is movie somebody else is trying to do a villain, but I think I can do something with Star. And then they just looked at me and said, well, you kind of had your mind. So that was villain number 3. People ask me sometimes, so is there a certain person that you base Gaston on? And then all I can say is the engines. Checking themselves in the mirror, looking good, you know? That's the guy I started. And when it came to Jafar, I remember getting a lot out of the voice. Jonathan Frakes is the voice actor, and he had this beautiful body quality. In animation, what you usually try when you start out with a character, you do a walk. And the way you walk the character tells you a little bit about him or her. With Jafar, he just swishes in and swishes out. And these are the coolest things. You know, he just shows up. There's not a lot of bounce or short weight there. So once I applied that, it was actually easy for me to have him move. And then when it came to Star, again, the voice helped me go on the cherry lines. He can read the phone book. And Star was my first phone down. I was so used to doing human characters and using a mirror and acting things out in front of the mirror, you know, all that. And out of habit, I got out of my chair, closed the door, and I was going to act this out. And I thought, no, that's not going to work on this character. Then it was back to using wildlife and analyzing how lions walk and what we can play. That doesn't mean that occasionally we can also do some human acting. I remember one scene I particularly enjoyed was Scar talks about the relationship between Simba and Mufasa. And he calls it a father-son thing. Like, he doesn't like it, he's disgusted by it. And so I thought, I need to do thing, I need to do something human here. So you can do that, but you have to be sure that it doesn't look like an animal, that it still looks like doing something new. So these are interesting challenges that come up.
How does it feel to be returned to the world?
It's a little bit like known territory to get back to villains, because I've lived these bad guys for so long and studied them my whole life. So it's familiar turf for me, and I just love the idea to have an area where you just have fun with them, all in one area. You get to know them even more, and I know we're going to amplify the way you see them, like you've never seen them before. It's going to be dramatic with amazing lighting. It's been really fun. I worked with some of the guys at the engineering, and yeah, working on concepts. But it's definitely, when I read this for the first time, I said, this is an idea, this is fun. And then I got a phone call and I said, yeah, Andreas, you've got something that's would you like to be a part of it? Yes, please.
And what experience did you notice about stepping into it?
Well, just the idea that this is a whole new land, you know, where you can revisit these guys and see them interact. On Mark's David birthday, I gave him a sketch of Jafar and invited him to the dance. And I got a nice monthly chuckle. Really fun to see them be together, what conversations would they have. So the interaction would be fun too.
Now here to tell us more, please welcome from Walt Disney Imagineering, White Winter and Caroline May. Villains at Magic Kingdom.
Yes, and since then, the Imagineers have been bringing the vision of villains to life along with Andreas Deja.
And that's something I'm hoping you guys are going to tell us more about today. In the video we just saw, Andreas talked about the witch source materials and Disney villains. So I'd like to first ask you guys, where do you even start when you're taking something from animation to real life in the parks?
So we start with the known. We start with the classic animated films, which give us these amazing settings. And we want to deliver on a certain amount of wish fulfillment so that it feels like you are stepping into these worlds. But we don't just want to deliver on the known, we also want to deliver on what is new and familiar. And in order to do that, we have to have a deep understanding of these characters, the look and the feel, and how to translate that into the architecture and the place. And so what we look at in the characters in the shape language is that they have a fluidity to them, especially when we think about the magic that's associated with them. And so this is very reminiscent of the architectural style of Art Nouveau.
So you start by finding the architectural inspiration. What is step 2?
So step 2 is a lot of research. So we would books, internet, the movies obviously as well, and the characters, but those only take you so far. And in kind of grand Walt Disney Imagineering tradition, we thought a research trip was in order to see this in person.
I've heard a lot about these research trips. They sound really, really fun. I'd love to know, where did you guys go?
So this past year, the team took an amazing trip to Paris, France, and Barcelona, Spain, which were both iconic homes of Art Nouveau.
What did you learn on this research trip? Because if it was me, I'd probably be enjoying a lot of baguettes and great food. But please tell us what you learned.
That too. We brought in the experts. We toured with local art historians, architectural historians, university professors. You know, most of the team at least had a foundation in art history and Art Nouveau, but we wanted to see examples of architecture where it looked like nature had a spell had been cast on nature, where trees and vines twist into stone and walls.
That's super interesting to me, and I'm sure super appealing to your team as well, because you're taking something from real life and finding magical inspiration and fantasy inspiration from it. So if you went to both Paris and Barcelona, what are the differences in these two cities when you're seeking inspiration architecturally?
Yeah, so Paris is what you think of classic Art Nouveau. It really plays into natural motifs, swirling designs that look like nature's been cursed. In Barcelona, the art style is actually referred to as modernism, so think Gaudi. Architecture that is otherworldly, it's almost unnerving when you're inside of these spaces, and you even get buildings that look like they're melting with these subliminal shapes and faces in them.
Well, we all know Imagineers are very good at hiding a very specific face, so that's awesome. And I just have to say, I think these reference images are so striking because of the color palette.
Yeah, the colors play a huge part in both the architecture and obviously the villains themselves. They have such iconic color palettes and looks to them. You can tell what the villains are just from that. And so it's really pulling that together and how to combine that with architecture.
Yeah, so when you take all of these elements, right, the look and feel of the characters and the magic, the Art Nouveau as this architectural style that looks like a spell has been cast on it, and then this rich, jeweled color palette that Wyatt just mentioned, you end up getting all of the ingredients of what we've been calling conjured architecture.
Conjured architecture. So this is an imaginary term that you guys have coined.
Yeah, something that our team came up with, really tried to think something different but familiar.
That's amazing. I love that. Again, you're blending this historical reference with the fantastical source material. That's amazing.
Yeah, so we're excited today to really show you everything about here. We have a few more tricks up our sleeves beyond just conjure architecture that we're going to save for a later date to talk more about this, but we're just excited to give you a little sneak peek into what the team has been working on so far.
Well, as I would say, that's very tantalizing. And I personally look forward to experiencing conjured architecture with villains at Magic Kingdom. Thank you guys so much for coming out. This is awesome.